I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, this is the final stretch before open enrollment begins for the nation's health insurance exchanges.
How many college students are too many when living in a single-family home? I'm Peggy Pico with a new proposal to restrict mini dorms near college campuses in San Diego. And to honor today's World Diabetes Day, a San Diego doctor shares his personal experience with the disease and has tips for tackling holiday treats.
And we'll take a look at San Diego's Hops Highway in the North County. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow is the start of the second open enrollment period under the Affordable Care Act. Americans can sign up for health insurance once again, but Cindy Sharp of the Associated Press tells us those who already did have mixed reactions to their coverage so far.
There's a network.
At this community center in New Orleans, health advisors are gearing up for round two. The second open enrollment period for President Barack Obama's health care law begins this Saturday.
Knowledge is absolutely power when it comes to the Affordable Care Act and health insurance in general.
The government says it's fixed the technical problems that plagued the healthcare.gov website last year. More than 7 million people signed up for private policies through the federal and state-run healthcare exchanges, and 85% of them are getting government help to pay premiums.
It's going to be interesting because though everybody should have signed up last time, there's expectations that this November 15th, there'll be another round of people that'll start enrolling that somehow didn't last time.
The administration estimates enrollment will reach 9 million in 2015, a mix of old and new customers. But not everyone who signed up last year is satisfied with their coverage.
It meant taking on a 60% premium increase.
Steve Duchesne's old policy for his family of 5 was canceled because it didn't meet certain requirements under the law. His new policy through the California exchange complies, but is much more expensive.
I have vast new coverages which I neither want nor need at prices I find very difficult to afford.
Others say it's hard to find a doctor within a narrower network of providers, and health advocates say there's another challenge for first-time customers, choosing plans with low monthly premiums but getting hit with higher deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses.
It's just really important that people know what premiums are, know what deductibles are, and how that's going to impact their budget.
And there are other potential issues. The Supreme Court will hear a new legal challenge to the law next spring, and a Republican-controlled Congress will keep trying to repeal it. But open enrollment moves ahead through the February 15th deadline. Those who enrolled last year will need to check if they can get a better deal. Penalties for the remaining uninsured start this coming tax season. Cindy Sharp, Associated Press.
Another lawsuit's been filed against the city of San Diego and former Mayor Bob Filner for a groping incident. Filner pleaded guilty to this one last year. The lawsuit says his bodyguard saw it happen and did nothing about it. The city's been sued by at least 4 other women over Filner's behavior and settled with one of them. San Diego Ethics Commission has fined 4 more people for laundering contributions to District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis' 2012 mayoral bid. KPBS reporter Amitha Sharma says the fines are linked to the federal case against a Mexican business tycoon. Amitha joins us now. So who got the fines?
The Ethics Commission issued a $20,000 fine against Amir Iravani. He's the owner of NK Towing and Roadside Services. Iravani laundered $2,000 in contributions through 4 employees to the Bonnie Dumanis for Mayor 2012 committee. The watchdog panel also fined 3 people $5,000 each for acting as straw donors to the same Dumanis committee on behalf of retired San Diego Police Detective Ernesto Encinas. Now, Encinas has pleaded guilty to helping funnel $600,000 in foreign money to local elections from Mexican businessman Jose Susumo Azano Matsura.
And why wasn't Encinas fined?
I posed that question to Ethics Commission Executive Director Stacey Fullhorst. She says it's premature to say whether Encinas will be fined too. That case is not finished. In general, she said, the standard in the industry is to levy the penalty against the person who orchestrated the money laundering. I should also mention, Dwayne, that Fullhorst says Dumanis was not aware the contributions to her campaign had been laundered.
KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma. San Diego's water use went up 6% last month compared to the same time last year. County Water Authority says it's because of hot weather. Average temperatures in October, 14 degrees above normal, making it tougher for folks to conserve water. An update now on the ongoing battle over the former Escondido Country Club. A judge refused to dismiss a lawsuit filed by the owner of the golf course. He wants to build 430 homes on the site. Escondido voters said no to the plan last week. Now, the city's already declared the property to be a permanent open space. The course owner says that move took away the value of the land. A proposal on new restrictions for mini dorms near college campuses in San Diego is heading to the city council. Peggy Pico finds out why.
San Diego's Public Safety and Livable Neighborhoods Committee unanimously approved a so-called mini-dorm addendum on Thursday. At issue are renewed residential concerns over single-family homes being rented to numerous college students at the same time. Joining me with the details are Rhea Coleman, president of the College Area Community Council, and Ann Cottrell, also with the CACC, who helped draft the new proposal. Welcome to Evening Edition. Now, Ann, the term mini dorm is not a legal definition, so what are we really talking about?
Well, there are a number of different ways that the code addresses this issue. And the one we're talking about right now is the Rooming House Ordinance, which was passed in 2008.
Okay.
And this is just an amendment. They're just clarifying the language.
And we're going to talk about that language in a minute, but how many types of these rentals are in San Diego? Do either of you know?
We don't know about, I don't know about San Diego at all, but the CACC has a committee that works on this and has identified 699 in the college area alone.
So here near San Diego State, right, almost 700 of these homes. Now, Rhea, you live in this college area near San Diego State. What are some of yours and your neighbors' concerns about these housing arrangements?
Well, parking is a major issue because there are so many kids or students in each house, often as many as 10 or 12. They don't have room to park, and so they either take up neighborhood parking or they park on the front lawn or they park illegally in some way. So parking is a big problem for us. Another problem is trash. The trash cans are left out, and this is often not the students' fault because they don't know. They don't know what the regulations are, but they don't know when to put the trash out, that it needs to be brought back in. There are lots of trash cans because you've got so many people crowded into one house, and they often don't know how to separate their recyclables. So then the trash is not picked up by the city, and it's just left out there week after week.
Because it's overflowing or not in the right place. Now, Ann, since 2008, as you mentioned, San Diego does have a law or a city ordinance to regulate these types of rentals. What does that ordinance say right now, and how would the proposal change it?
The proposal doesn't change the meaning at all. It takes out one section that was in conflict to another section and just said, we're just going to eliminate that. It makes a little clearer that this deals with renting by the room, and this is only one of several tools, and this specifically is aimed at what we call commercial rental property, where they rent by the room as opposed to renting a whole house. And they changed it a little bit to make clear that it could be either a separate oral agreement or a separate written agreement.
Is there a limit on a single-family household on how many people they can rent to?
Not with the Rooming House Ordinance. There's something else called the Rooming House, the high occupancy permit that does limit it, but that's not what this is about. Okay, so we will have to wrap up pretty quickly here, but Rhea, I want to ask you, I understand there's code enforcement officers already by the city that are supposed to be monitoring this. So are they
doing it?
Well, part of the purpose of the ordinance amendment was to make it easier for them to do that. And of course, they're also short-staffed. They are adding staff, and so we're very hopeful that this will enable them to do their jobs in the college area and get the area cleaned up.
Now, what do you want to say to, and I'll start with you, Rhea, what do you want to say to college students? Say, look, there's limited housing on college campuses. Apartments in San Diego cost $1,200. We can't afford it. We have to live in these houses. We have to live in you know, group college students. What's your answer to them?
You know, we love college students here in the college area, but we need them to follow the same codes as everyone else because it makes it a more pleasant place to live. It's a quality of life issue for all of us.
All right, well, we're going to have to wrap here. We'll continue to follow this as it goes to the City Council. Rhea Coleman and Ann Cottrell, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Five San Diego hospitals are among the nation's top performers in a new report from a group that measures the quality of care. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg joins us from our North County Bureau to discuss the report. Kenny, tell us who put this report together and what it's about.
Well, the Joint Commission is a group that accredits hospitals nationwide. Their new report ranks hospitals on how well they performed on 46 different measures of quality. The measures focus on care for specific conditions, including surgical care and stroke.
So 46 different measures. What San Diego hospitals made the list?
The VA Medical Center, Kaiser, and 3 Sharp hospitals, Sharp Memorial, Sharp Coronado, and Sharp Grossmont made the list.
So Kenny, what does it mean to be a top performer?
Well, to make the list, hospitals had to meet up to 5 different quality care standards for more than 95% of patients. So in other words, they had to provide perfect care for almost all of their patients who had certain conditions.
Does this mean consumers should avoid hospitals that didn't make the grade?
Well, no, not at all. Officials with the California Hospital Association told me that many good hospitals didn't make the list, and officials say consumers shouldn't rely on this report or any one report in particular. They should talk to hospitals about their particular health care needs and see what the hospitals are doing to improve quality.
KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg. Nearly 30 million Americans have diabetes on this World Diabetes Day. Peggy Pico talks to a doctor about how patients can take control of the disease.
There are over 3 million people in San Diego County, and at least 1 million living here either have diabetes or pre-diabetes, according to the Centers for Disease Control. Joining me with a personal take on how to manage diabetes is my guest, Dr. Steve Edelman, professor of medicine of endocrinology, diabetes, and metabolism at UC San Diego, and with Veterans Affairs Healthcare System of San Diego. And welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Edelman, I understand you have lived with type 1 diabetes since you were age 15. How has this impacted your life?
Well, you know, I have type 1 diabetes, and we can talk about the differences later on, but I've had diabetes much longer than I haven't had diabetes. And I would say this, it has affected my life greatly in mostly a good way. And some of the hard parts about diabetes, just managing it, taking shots, testing my blood sugar, the ups and downs, and a few complications, you know, having type 1 for over 40 years. But for me personally, it sort of motivated me to become a doctor specializing in diabetes, and then to work at UCSD, the VA, and then start this not-for-profit organization taking control of your diabetes.
And we're going to talk about that in a moment, but remind us of the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Yeah, real briefly. Type 2 is the most common. We used to call it adult onset. You get it when you're older, and it's associated with central obesity, heart problems, blood pressure, cholesterol, and that's the epidemic we're talking about. And we should talk a little bit later about the cause of type 2. It's not because people overeat. My type is totally different. It's an autoimmune condition. For some reason, when I was 15, my own immune system attacked my insulin-producing cells of the pancreas.
Sure.
And since day one, in 1970, I've been on insulin. And as you know, adult onset diabetics can be treated with pills and lifestyle, and they might need insulin later on, and a whole bunch of other new agents. So type 1 is quite different from type 2 in that you always need insulin. We're using the newer technologies of insulin pump, continuous glucose monitors. Type 2, you get it later in life, and usually there's weight problems, and there's a whole different set of medications, some of which there's overlap.
Let's talk about, if we can, maybe some key things that a diabetic person can do to manage their diabetes, and let's say, aside from taking the proper medication.
Sure. Well, let's do each type at a time. Type 1, myself. You know, I have an insulin pump. I have one of the greatest advances in diabetes, I think, since the discovery of insulin. This is a continuous glucose monitor. I have a little sensor that I put under my skin, and I think it's worthwhile spending a few seconds on this. It gives me my blood sugar every 5 minutes, and it also tells me, you can see the arrow, it tells me what direction my blood sugar is going. So us type 1s, could have dangerous lows and excessive highs, and this keeps me in the range. So how do I manage my diabetes? Yes, I have insulin. Every type 1 has to be on insulin, but this device helps me stay in a much more safe range a greater percentage of time. For type 2s, it's a bigger lifestyle issue, because lifestyle is so important in type 2 because there's weight problems. Folks are usually older, and without a good lifestyle, like trying to eat the right things most of the time and a little bit of physical activity, I don't care what medications you're on, it's not going to work well.
Okay, so give us, when I'm talking about type 2 lifestyle, we're talking about these lifestyle changes.
Yes.
It's difficult to eat a sugar-free diet on an average day. The holidays are coming up. What would be your #1 recommendation for people with diabetes in trying to either avoid these foods or manage their diabetes during the holiday season?
Yeah, you know, I have a hard time during holidays too. And my philosophy is this: eat the foods you like in moderation. I think that if you tell people you cannot drink, which is a goofy rule anyway, or you can't have this, you can't have a piece of pie, I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of guilt, and they're going to feel like they're being withheld things, and it's going to mess them up during the holidays. So I think this: eat the food you like. If you want a piece of apple pie, just don't have the whole pie. Don't have it every single day.
Moderation.
Yeah, moderation. And if there's ever a chance to increase a little bit of your exercise during the holidays, you know, why not?
That's a good key. That's a good key. I want to move on because we're going to have to wrap up here. I want to know about some of the latest research. I'm sure you could. The latest research findings and if there have been any breakthroughs as far as managing diabetes.
Okay, type 1, they're taking the continuous glucose monitor, an insulin pump, and a sophisticated computer to totally control your insulin pump that turns it on, turns it off, increases the rate, and using another pump that contains glucagon that prevents you from getting too low. It takes the total control away from the patient, and the blood sugars are in extremely narrow range. That's called the artificial pancreas. The other thing that's really exciting for San Diego, there's a local company called ViaCyte, and as of 2 days ago, we had the second human implant of an encapsulated beta cell. And that's basically the cells that secrete insulin in a protective barrier that prevents the antibodies from attacking it, but allows the glucose and glucagon to go out. And that's very exciting. That's the closest thing to a cure. That's going on right now. Super exciting.
That is very exciting. Unfortunately, we are going to have to wrap.
So type 2,
you have one more?
Type 2 diabetic, a whole bunch of new oral medications and injectables, not insulin, that help people with type 2 not only control their blood sugars, but also lose weight at the same time.
Okay, well, so much exciting. So I have to say, we can go to our website, kpbs.org, for more information on this. Dr. Steve Edelman, thank you so much. Thank you.
A report confirms San Diego police salaries rank at the bottom statewide. For campus assault victims, getting justice can be an ordeal in itself. And an independent agency gives several well-known veterans charities failing grades. I'm Mark Sauer. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
It's been a big makeover year for San Diego's downtown waterfront. The county showed off its new waterfront park in May, and tomorrow the Port District will cut the ribbon on its long-awaited North Embarcadero project. That's where cruise ship passengers come ashore. Putting the final pieces in place for a public celebration Saturday wrapping up a $31 million makeover of San Diego's prime waterfront property along the North Embarcadero. Marguerite Alacone with the Port District says it's time to party.
We're going to have strolling entertainers, musicians, a kids zone, food trucks, and then it's all going to culminate in a ribbon cutting ceremony at 3:30.
The 2.5-year project has transformed the area, adding new public gardens, new places to sit down and enjoy views of the water, as well as public artwork and a waterfront promenade to take a stroll or run.
Not only did it create these beautiful open spaces, but it improved the traffic around here. We did work on West Broadway. We removed a hump so that now people can see a view of San Diego Bay when they leave the courthouse or drive down Broadway. We've included new lighting, signature lighting, new palm trees.
Construction of a new hotel and park is also underway across the street at Lane Field. That's where the Padres played back in the 1930s.
So the new park is going to honor that tradition. They're going to have the bases, the pitcher's mound, and other little historical elements that will pay homage to that history.
The celebration for the North Embarcadero project runs from noon until 4 tomorrow at the foot of West Broadway and Harbor Drive.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, comedian Jon Stewart discusses his debut as a serious filmmaker. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
San Diego Beer Week draws to a close this weekend. The 10-day event is designed to showcase craft brewers, including those in Vista. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando takes a look at why craft beer is booming in the North County.
In the time it takes me to say that San Diego County has 94 craft breweries, the number will have changed. Kevin Hopkins, vice president of the San Diego Brewers Guild, says the tally will be at 100 by the end of the year.
There's over 40 that are in development, and it is explosive combined growth. We grow by double digits each and every year.
Hopkins is also the chief branding officer at Mother Earth Brew Co. in Vista.
Vista has 11 functioning breweries. We have 2 more there in development. And if you look at the data, it actually shows that per capita, Vista has the most commercial breweries in the United States.
Of course, you have to take into account that Vista is by no means the largest city in the U.S. But you can't blame Hopkins for bragging. Vista's 11 successful breweries are still something to be proud of, and there are more on the way.
The biggest growth and the biggest saturation right now is North County.
Bruce Glassman just published the revised San Diego Brewery Guide.
We added 20 breweries to this new edition. I think 9 or 10 of them were on the 78 corridor, which is now being lovingly referred to as the Hops Highway. And so between San Marcos, Vista, and Oceanside, we've seen about 10 breweries open up just in the last 12 months.
Amanda Elder opened Toolbox Brewing in September in Vista.
I think we're thinking really outside the box and trying to put ourselves on the map, so to speak. So rather than doing the same beers that everybody else in San Diego is doing and trying to compete with that, it's how can we set ourselves apart and show San Diego the new side of beer.
And what we're trying to do is just kind of stand out, be different. I really see beer moving towards this kind of sour and beer going vintage base where you can actually start aging beer like wines. And our platform of the Yeast We Use is a very good platform for that.
We've been really waiting for this Guild Fest to really put us on the map and kind of show people down south, you know, what we're doing up there.
While Elder tries to raise the public's awareness about Toolbox, Mother Earth enjoys a well-established brand.
We're fortunate that we're in multiple states. We're getting ready to expand again. We are known for West Coast style ales. We founded the company on IPAs. We make some outstanding IPAs. Yet our flagship beer, and this is the kind of the joke, and this is the thing that we always have to love. The consumer tells you what they want to have. You don't get to pick your flagship. They pick it for you. Cali Creamin', Madagascar Vanilla Bean Cream Ale is our #1 beer. And we make more of that than we make of anything else.
Tasting rooms provide just one way that breweries can introduce people to their craft beers and bring in revenue.
As your own retailer, then you're paying yourself for the product that you're serving. So in that case, certainly you can do well with that, and that may be enough. And there's certainly a lot of breweries that is good enough for them.
The good news for young companies like Toolbox is that most new breweries in San Diego do well.
No, extremely well. There's very, very few breweries. I mean, literally single digits that have actually opened and then for some reason gone away. The vast majority of breweries you see stay open.
That's true in part because San Diego provides a growing market where local breweries are not competing for shelf space and where there's a sense of collaboration over competition.
I think most of the breweries in San Diego in general are very supportive, and it's a very tight brotherhood. Trying to get it into a sisterhood, but it's a brotherhood. Well, everybody's been sharing hops, sharing grain. I mean, it's a brotherhood.
Vista wants to increase that sense of collaboration by creating a business climate specifically friendly to craft brewing.
They recognized early on that craft was something that could bring in not just a revenue base for the city, but it brought exposure, because Vista is talked about all over the country. Every time a medal is garnered at some competition, Vista is put back on the map.
Hopkins doesn't think Vista or San Diego is anywhere near reaching a saturation point for craft beer.
I kind of always say they don't call it Silicon Valley because they limited the number of tech companies that come into it. The reality is as long as you make a great product, then the consumer is going to dictate how large we can grow.
And if you make a great product, people will come.
They show time and time again that they're willing to go as far as they need to get that which they want.
And if Guildfest is any indication, people want San Diego craft beer and are willing to come from around the globe to get it. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Well, you can sample some of these Vista beers as San Diego Beer Week continues through Sunday. Visit sdbw.org for more information. A fire weather watch takes effect Sunday for our mountain and valley areas. Temperatures start warming up on Sunday from the upper 60s coastside tomorrow to the upper 70s by Monday. Windy conditions for the inland valley areas. Temperatures there also climbing to upper 70s over the next few days. And the mountain areas will be cooler but windy. Gusts up to 50 miles an hour, upper 50s there. And the desert, a cool down rather than a warm up, going from the low 80s to upper 70s. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.